network over cable is we're shooting as we're showing them. So we're shooting right now the 15th episode. What shows Sunday is the 12th episode. Mm-hmm. So you can kind of get a sense as people are watching it what they're reacting to and what they're not. And the advantage is you can tweak the story based on where the audience thinks something will be going. You can tweak it. You have time to tweak it up to the day we shoot to go in another direction.
So are you saying you tweak it in order to frustrate that expectation?
Correct.
You want to,
yes,
you want a
surprise.
Right.
I mean, if there's the expectation, it's not lost, but I mean, we're not trying to hide, big things. But like last year, there was a need to hide the ball on a Kalinda reveal that was supposed to be. I don't think it's not spoiler alert, right? That's like a year ago.
That's right.
I hope not.
Kalinda ended up sleeping with her husband.
Old news, baby.
Alicia. Thank you. And what we wanted, there is this mystery of Kalinda for the year, and we just wanted to hide the ball on that it being a very personal problem. With Kalinda, you thought it might be some operatic thing of, that she killed some man in Reno and was hiding, that you never knew where. So we just kind of wanted to prod that in one direction or the other based on that, because you knew you wanted to reveal it by this date. And so would you say that's it? And then, we do react a lot to, the difficulty is the show's trying to not be right-wing or left-wing. And there's this kind of knee-jerk reaction from right-wing that the show is going to put Gary Cole on and he's going to turn out to be killing you or something, because he's a Republican. And you always want to frustrate that. So sometimes you want to read the blogs of political to see how they're reacting so that you can frustrate what the left or right would think of the show.
Well, that's very interesting because, we read a lot of times in terms of red and blue states and how geographically political certain areas are. Have you found a difference in audience reaction in terms of where people live, whether in the middle of the country or the coast?
That's a great question.
It's a great question that I have not been able to get to.
Well, it seems to be more engaging on the coast than the Midwest, but I don't think that. And Chicago loves it, but also, or in general loves it, but really hates that we get things wrong, which is like we're shooting in New York. Or,
and we like that. We like that.
So I would say that there's a red state, blue state differential on it because I think it's about more liberal issues, but it's really a liberal satire more than it's like a plot. It's not West Wing like a liberal wet dream. It's really more supposed to be, the corruption of the machine, which is very much a democratic institution.
Right.
We could ask Siri.
I tried that asking, what is the meaning of life? She said she didn't have enough information. But, I was thinking actually not only on political issues, but even about sexual scenes, because we hear how socially conservative some states are, and yet, shows sometimes like 2.5 Men, which have a very raunchy humor, are quite popular in states that are considered red states and have high ratings there. So, I mean, a lot of times there seems to be this divide between what people enjoy seeing for their entertainment and yet their political views.
I can speak on one thing, which I don't know if it has to do so much with red or blue as much as it has to do with religion, which is one of the, a friend of mine sent a very, we're laughing at it, but it would probably be disturbing if I got the letter and opened it up. But someone had written in and said, why don't you, after our liaison, why don't you just call it the good slut? And what I found so interesting about
That's
that...
my mom. She asked for your address. You'll be getting a few more of those.
But it is interesting how, and there's a lot of people, I'll walk down the street and they'll say, don't go with Will. You're cheating on your husband. And it is amazing to me that in 2012, I'm like, have you seen this? He fucked hookers. Oh my God. And not just hookers, but people he worked with, and by the way, I left him.
Right.
Don't, what? Like, she's the slut. Like,
Right.
that's what shocks me about our world. And most of the letters that come in are very right Christian
Oh, really? That's interesting.
people that see a woman who's still married, not legally divorced. And it doesn't matter what the husband has done, that she's having this affair, even if they're not, even though they're separated.
Although I think one reason perhaps that you're getting letters is because there's actually letter writing campaigns that a lot of right-wing or conservative websites may organize. So,
Or people just don't have a life, I mean.
yeah, well, that too, but
Yeah.
but actually there's an
Well, that's a good point.
there's actually, though, there is a storyline, though, a very interesting storyline on religion that involves your daughter on the show. And that's, I think, also unusual in terms of plots, usually dramatic plots to follow, particularly for having the young people who are interested in religion. Where'd you get that idea from?
Well, a lot of it that was Robert's cooking, but I think it came from the impulse of not wanting to go to the cliched place of how a teenager might act out. Mm-hmm. And if you've got parents like Alicia and Peter Florrick who are forward-thinking and educated, how do you zitz them a little bit? Mm-hmm. Maybe you get a little more conservative. I mean, how does Alicia argue with going to church? It puts her in such an awkward position.
Right.
And the other thing is that people think of religion as being something that's conservative-based for obviously good reasons. Mm-hmm. But there also is this brand of Christianity that seems to come from the left. Because we really wanted to play the Mackenzie character, Grace, as an idealist, while the son is more of a pragmatic strategist. And so she has very idealistic political ideas. So how would that marry up with religion? Mm-hmm. She's really a seeker, if any, I mean... Mm-hmm.
Now, have you know, one of the things you keep talking about, how you try to kind of avoid the cliche or frustrate the expectation, and so much of what you see on television seems like it comes out of this cookie cutter. Do the network, or in this case, is CBS pushing you actually to do what's more expected, you know, to follow, here's the formula for success, follow the formula?
I'm stunned by what we play with.
No, they kind of don't, it's an odd little animal. They don't quite know how it works or what it, and they do testing occasionally, and the testing sometimes supports the balance. The talk early on was the balance between the personal story and the case. And there was a real, right around the 8th episode, they did this testing that really was excited about that balance. So I don't think we haven't had anything, have we? I'm trying to think if they've even...
Well, you did win a Peabody Award and 2 Emmy nominations. They must get a sense that something's working, okay? Maybe they can leave.
One would hope.
They are sometimes a little bit worried about cases. That we wanted to do one that was about football, and there was worried about going after the NFL.
Changing it.
Yeah.
Let's get our revenge.
Change it to ice hockey.
Actually, that's what we did. Very good.
I know when she said
Do you
that.
want to be on staff?
Yeah. I have a few ideas.
I thought you talked to her.
Now, I mean, all of you have had a lot of experience on previous shows and such. Is your sense that this show is treated any differently just in terms of the freedom that you have, or the way it seems also somewhat more collaborative, if I'm not mistaken, even with the actors in it, in terms of discussing characters and storylines? Is that unusual, or did you also have that in your other series you've been on?
I get the feeling that everyone knows this is so well written. It's something we all try to, you know, measure up to the level of the writing. We're all like, wow, how lucky are we as actors and as crew and to be part of it. And that feeling, I think, just keeps growing and growing since we could actually come together every week and work on something that clearly people are responding to as really, I mean, everybody here will say, just people come up and say, we're so grateful. It's the only thing I watch. I never watch television, but I watch this show. I'm so grateful to have such a, you know, to watch something so well written, and the characters are so complex. The women are so complex. women respond tremendously to seeing female characters who are that multi-layered. So